I just wanted to come on here early and say thank you for an incredible 2024. It has been a fantastic year. We've had incredible conversations, incredible guests. We have produced at least 2 shows a week for you all year long. And that takes a lot of time and effort and money. We are an independently produced show. I am doing all the work. But I would love some freedom to expand and to grow and to do other things for you. And that requires some funds. So if you would donate, I would so appreciate it. If you go to the support the show link at the bottom of the show notes on the app that you're listening to right now, click that link. It'll take you to a donation page, or you can go to shiftingculturepodcast.com and hit the donate button. Every donation will help us continue the work in 2025 and continue to expand what we do and bring you. Thank you for donating. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoy the show today.
I thought we had your support. If we liberals are not united, Tedesco will become Pope. You have no idea how bad it became, Thomas. The way he and his circle attacked the Holy Father towards the end. The smears, the leaks to the press, it was savage. He fought him every single day of his pontificate. And now that he's dead, he wants to destroy his life's work. If Tedesco becomes Pope, he will undo 60 years of progress.
You talk as if you're the only alternative, but Adeyemi has the wind behind him.
Adeyemi? Mm-hmm. Adeyemi, the man who believes that homosexuals should be sent to prison in this world and hell in the next. Adeyemi's not the answer to anything, and you know it. If you want to defeat Tedesco...
This is a conclave, Aldo. It's not a war.
It is a war, and you have to commit to a side.
Hello, and welcome to the Shifting Culture podcast, in which we have conversations about the culture we create and the impact we can make. We long to see the body of Christ look like Jesus. I'm your host, Johnson. Welcome to the second of our best of 2024 episodes. In this one, we are counting down our favorite movies of the year with Elijah Davidson and Craig Detweiler. You are in for a treat, as they speak about movies a lot more articulately than I do. This is a fun one. If you have been enjoying the podcast this year, I'd love it if you would go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. It helps us out a lot. Thank you so much. I'm also starting an arts, media, and storytelling company in the new year. If you are interested in letting the creative arts emerge so that the body of Christ can look more like Jesus, then connect with me. You can email me at jjohnson@allnations.us. I'm looking for people to make this happen with me. So let's get to the episode. Here is the best of 2024 favorite movies edition. Welcome to our favorite movies of 2024 podcast. I'm so excited to have you, Elijah, and you, Craig, on to join me, and we could discuss our films, our favorite films of the year. So to get going, a couple of things. I'd love to hear, what was your film going experience this year like for you? Just in general, what was that like? And then, what did your list end up being? What were some criterias for you in your list as you were thinking about putting these movies together?
That's good. Hit it, Elijah. Ooh, what was my film going year like? Well, I have two very small children. One is soon to be 5, and the other is soon to be 2. And so my film going year was, let's say, one of profound gratitude, because anytime I was able to get out and see a movie, I was profoundly grateful, because we were busy with other stuff a lot of times. So most of the time that was late at night, after the kids were in bed. And so alongside being grateful to be out seeing a movie, I also kind of wished I was at home with my wife, because that was the only time we got to hang out together too. So that was my dynamic of the year. I felt like not a lot of movies were released this year, that it was kind of a down release year. I think coming off of both still coming off a little bit of pandemic stuff, but then the strikes and stuff, that this year was kind of a down year. I also read somewhere that a lot of the market analysts were saying that in addition to those things, people were still like kind of working their way back into life. And a lot of movie studios kind of knew that and held movies back. And for next year, when they expect theatrical attendance to be up a whole lot, so a lot of movies are supposed to come out next year, a lot more movies. So I had the experience of constantly being like, okay, tonight's the night I can go see a movie. What's out? I've already seen all those movies. There wasn't something new there. So I liked the movies that I saw. And I wish that there were more of them. That was my year.
I'd say my year kind of starts off with a bang because I try to get to Sundance Film Festival every year, and so I'll watch 15 or 20 films in a week, and you're hard to process that many when you got that many stories kicking around in your head. But it's actually helpful because then as those films roll out over the year, over the months to come, then you're like, oh yeah, I did see that. Oh yeah, what was that? Oh, what was that about? And then maybe I'll go back and see it again. So you get maybe a second viewing, a deeper dive. And it's weird the way that I guess film releases now are tricky as well. Because it's like, is it premiering? Is it streaming? Is it in theaters for 2 weeks, 2 days? 2 cities, it's just so many irregularities in the release cycle, that I think it's actually hard to gather around any one film or any 2 films. It's hard to have a conversation because everybody's seeing them at irregular times in irregular places. And I think that's one of the downfalls, is one of the problems of the streaming era. Like it's all available, but nobody's necessarily watching it at the same time. And so you can't quite discuss it the way maybe you used to, where there was only 1 film a month or 2 films a month that maybe everybody was seeing and interacting with. There's still, of course, the big summer releases. You're going to have your Wolverines, your Deadpools, etc. But they don't maybe invite as much reflection after. It's like, yeah, that disposable pop. And what's next? I need some gummy bears to chase it down with or something, or sweet, disposable sweet. So,
Yeah. I mean, and for me, Elijah, I'm a little bit with you on that. I have a younger son, and my mother-in-law passed away early this year in January. And so she lived with us for 7 years and she was our built-in babysitter. And so going out with my wife wasn't as possible, going to the movies. And so I would sneak out like during the day, and go find a movie and go seek things out. And I showed her my list. I think I have a list of about 16 that I was thinking about like putting in my top 10. I showed her and she's like, I've seen 2 of those with you. That was great. But yeah, it was you had to seek things out and try to go. It wasn't always like when I'm available, oh, there's a movie that I actually really want to see. So, but there were some great ones this year. So some really good films that I really enjoyed. So it'll be fun to think about, discuss it. My criteria with my list, if I was just going through, was basically what are the films that resonated most with me? How did I have a reaction to it myself? Not necessarily these were the best films of the year. I'm not a professional critic, but I am somebody that loves film, loves movies. I love to see them, and I love to discuss them and think about them. But it was just what really resonated with me. And so these are the things where either I had a good time, it made me cry the whole time through, something that it touched me emotionally in one way or another. And so that was my big criteria for me, what resonated with me. How about you, Elijah?
Yeah, I'm kind of always I over the years of doing this and putting together lists every year, I've kind of come to kind of a central thing I'm always looking for. And to borrow a line from Hamilton, I'm looking for a mind at work when I go to the movies. And so I want to see, like, it may not necessarily be like the director or whatever. Often it can be the director, but I'm just looking for something where things seem very intentional. Like they're trying to do something. The filmmakers are trying to get at something, do something, discuss something. explore something that might be there might be an idea. The idea needs to be expressed visually, sonically. Like I like to see intention. And sometimes that equals what people might call uneven films, or films that are kind of hard to get into because there can be a lot of intention there, that's coming from a very odd place or a very particular place. But I love that. I just love to see a mind at work, and I think it gives you something to respond to, when you can see a lot of intention there. So I'm always looking for that.
Nice. How about you, Craig?
I would say for me, if you go to the roots of drama, it's tears and laughter. So in some cases, it's things that made me laugh. In some cases, it's things that made me cry. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of what movies would now is just maybe pure provocation. They're just like trying to get any response out of you, and they'll go to any lengths to
Yeah.
move you out of sort of stasis of like, I've seen that before, I've thought that before. And I'm not sure that creates better humans or better film
Yeah.
going. It creates a reaction, but I'm not sure that reaction is drawing me into a place of reflection or, self-assessment that causes me to maybe say, how do I love and serve people better? Uh, Instead, it's like, oh, that made me angry and confused, and I'm raging even more. And it's like, I don't think I need more of that. That's kind of called the nightly news, So so I don't know if I want to go to the movies to get more provocation. But I can see why in an age of kind of overstimulation, that's maybe the default of a lot of filmmakers.
Great. Well, I'm excited to see the list and what you guys have on. So let's get started. We're just going to go down our lists one at a time. And so we're going to start with number 10. And I'm going to start with you, Elijah. What is your number 10 film of the year?
This was like I said, it was kind of a funny year for me for getting out and seeing movies. I didn't see as many as I wanted to. That's not an apology for my list exactly, but a way of saying that when I had 9 films that I was really sure about, and I keep a list running all year, and I'll like move movies onto it and off of it as I see other stuff, So I've been running lists, and I had 9 movies on that list about a month ago, that I was pretty certain about that. I like these movies, but that 10th movie was a little bit tricky. There were not because there weren't good movies, it was just because I felt like a lot of the movies I liked them for similar reasons, and which one am I gonna finally put in that 10 spot? And I finally decided on The Piano Lesson, the Malcolm Washington directed adaptation of the John August Wilson play. I guess it's the third in Denzel Washington's goal of adapting all 10 of the American
Wilson.
cycle.
August Wilson. Yep.
August Wilson's American cycle. Yeah. Of plays. So it's on Netflix now. I was able to see it pretty easy, but it was what I expected it to be, and then it also really wasn't, because it was a ghost story as well. And I if you don't know, it's about a brother and sister who argue over whether or not to sell a piano that's been handed down to their family. And this is in the 1930s, set in the 1930s, and the piano has a lot of very complicated family history attached to it. And kind of discovering that is a lot of the fun of the movie. Fun is maybe not the right word, but a lot of the emotional pull of the film. And I love a good ghost story, and I think when filmmakers can use that conceit to bring out the other themes that they're working with. Del Toro is really good at that kind of thing. But I kind of loved how this all came together. And the mind at work piece here. I think Malcolm he's a new filmmaker. I think this is his directorial debut. I think I should look that up.
Okay.
And there was a lot of intent here. There were a lot of interesting shots, but not just interesting for their own sake. Shots that gave the piano itself a sense of life. And some good, I don't know. I appreciated some of the staging of some of the, I guess you call them flashbacks. They kind of occur in narrative sequence, but they're also kind of flashbacks. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. I wanted to see more. It made me want to go, watch Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the other two that they've done, watch those again and kind of understand more about the plays and everything. So anyway, The Piano Lesson, number 10. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Craig?
Well, Joshua, I like a good action picture. So my number 10, my original number 10 was The Beekeeper. Because in a year without John Wick, this was the biggest, dumbest revenge action picture that I could think of. But then I went and I thought, well, the John Wick director actually made another great dumb action picture called The Fall Guy, made about a really bad 80s picture. So I was like, Ryan Gosling, that was super charming. Love that. And ultimately, I said, if it has to be the best rather than the worst of the best, I had to shift. And so I went for a picture called Rebel Ridge, which is on Netflix. I don't know if have either of you seen it?
Good. Yeah, so good. It was
Really
almost
good.
my number 10.
Yeah.
So I loved it because I would call it a Southern slow burn. It is a revenge pick, but it's rooted, I think, in that tradition of things like Walking Tall, where you got a character who doesn't want to resort to violence, is doing everything they can to resist it. But you also, of course, have the bad Southern sheriff and the racism rolling through it. I thought Aaron Pierre is a great actor, great find as the lead in that, and the director Jeremy Saulnier. He's done Blue Ruin, he's done Green Room. There are always these very simmering things that result in cathartic violence, or even in this case, maybe some non-violence. And I thought it was just a smart pick.
Yeah. Really good pick. I love the opening scene of that film with him on the bicycle and then going through, and just like it all ramped up. Your anxiety is starting to come up and move. I thought it was just very, very deft filmmaker. That he's doing some great things, great work. And Aaron Pierre needs to be in a lot more movies. He's fantastic. Yeah. He's really good.
And that was almost my number 10. That was one of the ones I was warring with to put in my number 10 spot. It's the kind of movie that's like my favorite kind of anything. Where someone who is really good at something, they show you in great detail how they do that thing, and like a procedural kind of thing. And I eat those movies up. That's the best thing. And that was a good one. Yeah.
Nice. Well, my number 10 is Small Things Like These. Sets back in the 80s in Ireland, and Cillian Murphy plays a coal worker that goes and delivers coal during Christmas time and Christmas season. And he's seeing a lot of injustice happening around his town. And he is moved, wants to speak it out, take care of the people being abused. Man, Cillian Murphy, it's such a quiet film, and Cillian Murphy knows how to act with his eyes. I mean, it's just like his eyes are one of the most mesmerizing eyes I think we have right now. And he can really act with his eyes. And it just really drew me in. I think one of the things, it tells the story of the Magdalene sisters, true stories of the abuse that was happening in the schools that the nuns were putting on, girls' schools there. And I think part of it is one of the very first festival films that I was able to go to is at the Seattle International Film Festival was the Magdalene Sisters. And I just walked in blind, and it just stuck with me, one, for the experience that I had, the first festival film for me. And just, getting that, the sense of justice and care for people and the marginalized. So I really love that. And I love Claire Keegan's really short novel that the movie was based on. It was really good. So yeah, Small Things Like These, my number 10. Elijah, number 9.
Number 9. My number 9 film is a film that I absolutely hated watching. I hated almost every moment of watching it. But I hated it because it was so good at what it was doing. And the way it was telling a story. So the film is Between the Temples.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
saw it at Sundance. Craig, did you see it there as well?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Maybe in the same screening I was in, but hopefully you were much less uncomfortable than I was. But it's one of those. So the movie's about a cantor, played by Jason Schwartzman, who's kind of going through a personal crisis. He meets or re-meets the woman who was his music teacher in school, played by Carol Kane, in my favorite performance of the year. And she's kind of like a manic pixie Septuagenarian or something like that. Like she kind of like brings new life to his life, and um, she's so incredible in the movie. But it's one of those like anxiety comedies, where every moment is just like amped up, and yeah, and I hate those kind of movies. I just like it. I sit like in a ball, like in the theater, like trying not to watch what I have to watch, kind of thing. And it's a really good one. So if you like those kind of things, it's great. And I said Carol Kane's awesome. It asks all these questions about religion and about friendship and love and grief and trauma and how you get through those things and how religion is part of that. So it has all these great ideas running through it. And it's just, like I said, really well told in the way that Nathan Silver wanted to tell that story. I will never watch it again, but other people should.
I'd put it at like a solid, like maybe number 15 for me, as it absolutely definitely worth watching. Total train wreck of a movie, right? It's just having all the laughs are at characters' expenses, just cringe inducing and painful every step of the way.
Yeah.
So
It does have, I'll tease you with all this talk of miserableness. It has a fantastic final shot, and fantastic ending that you really need. It's like the opposite of that Schrader thing where you withhold everything and then give some kind of release at the end. It's not withholding anything, but it still gives you like a moment of just really beautiful release at the end. So between the
Nice.
symbols.
Perfect. Craig.
Number 9, I've got a comedy as well, but mine would be A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg as director and Kieran Culkin as maybe the pain-inducing cousin who, both of them are going to look at something in real pain. It's interesting. I've chosen a very Jewish comedy as well for my number 9. And to mine both comedy and pathos out of an ancestry trip to Poland to trace the grandmother's route out and to actually visit some of the internment camps and to remember the Holocaust. It's just really beautifully done. I really also like the fact it was just 90 minutes. It was small, it was tight, it was compact. It didn't need to draw things out. It scored its points, made them really well. And I'm just like, well done, boys. Well done. It won best screenplay at Sundance, I think, for a reason, because it was tight, well constructed, and I just admired it. So A Real Pain, thumbs up.
Nice. A Real Pain was not a real pain at the theater. It might come up a little bit later on my list as well. And I especially love Kieran Culkin in this movie. I think one of my favorite performances of the year. He was fantastic. He's so good. But my number 9 is The Wild Robot. I really enjoyed. This is one of the movies that I was able to go with my son and my wife, and we were able to enjoy it together. But I love the animation. The animation is just gorgeous and it's beautiful. And the story itself reminds me a little bit of your book, Craig, is Honest Creativity, of how to be creative in this world and not just rely on the machines and AI, and be in the world, to be a maker, because that's who we are. And I think that really, it helped us be better humans in the world, is watching this film, even though we get to see it through the lens of a robot, the eyes of the robot. But we do get to actually know, hey, what does it actually look like to be human, to connect to each other, to nature, to the things of this earth that are real. And so I loved it for all of those things. debating whether to put it in my top 10. It just snuck in there this morning. So it got something off, but I love Wild Robots. It was fantastic. I think a lot of people should watch it. And now I got my son into reading all the books too, which is great and fantastic.
Oh,
I
that's
love it.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that film had such a fun sense of humor.
Yes.
Like very almost a dark sense of humor, but kind of just, all the stuff about like the animals dying and stuff. I like that. I mean, like you think like a movie about nature, it needs to have something in there about like the fragility of life, especially in the wild. So I loved how they handled that. That was so good. Yep.
Great. All right. Number 8.
My number 8 film is a big bowl of fondue. A big bowl of fondue that they call Conclave.
Yes.
Boy,
Cheesy delight.
it is
Yes.
so wonderfully cheesy, but it is so rich and good too. And I
That's my
have
number 7. So I'm right here with you. Let's get into it
Yeah,
together.
perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have something that cheesy, you want it to be like acted that well and shot that well, and have actual like things to say, like ideas on its mind, and for the plot to be just doled out like an Agatha Christie novel, just like the right twists when you need them, and when you're not, it's just so much fun.
Pot
And
boiler, right? But it's
yeah,
apple stew. Yeah.
it's perfect. Yeah, it's so much fun. And it has some really interesting ideas, some interesting theological ideas underneath that are fun to discuss and talk about. So big bowl of fondue, best kind of thing.
It was actually my favorite election story of the year. I didn't really enjoy the other one, but this one was fun.
Yeah, that was a good election story.
I also liked all the I would call them kind of the peacocks preening and positioning, right? Like it was
Yeah.
and then I also liked how they basically kind of let Isabella Rossellini kind of come in and maybe steal the movie and be the the twist, the turn that with inside scoop, and that was kind of fun as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. Ray Fiennes is, and I think that this was probably his best performance of his career. I just loved Ray Fiennes in this. He was so compelling. The costumes, the cinematography was just gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Edward Berger knows how to direct a film. Like
sound design, right?
Yeah,
Pristine
everything.
sound, super quiet
Everything.
movie.
It's one of those movies with the shots where like it has moments of kind of like ostentatious framing and shots. It has moments of that. The rest of it's like very soundly put together and never not interesting to look at. But it doesn't do that all, and it doesn't do that all the time. It doesn't do big shots all the time. It is the right balance of both those things. Good stuff.
I want to acknowledge, right, that if I was Catholic, I might have a different feeling. I might not really want my conclave turned into a big bowl of stew, of cheesy stew. So just an acknowledgement, right?
Yeah,
we can laugh. They might not find it funny, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
So good. So good. All right. Number 8, Craig.
Number 8 for me, I'm going back to action, and that would be to Furiosa.
You took everything from me. My mother. My childhood. I want them back.
Not up to the level of
Fury Road. Yeah.
Yeah, but George Miller's
So
origin story, I thought it was deeply satisfying. I liked the 5 chapters, the distinctiveness of it. I liked how it came around in the end once she took down Dementis. Obviously any of us raised by wolves or motorcycle gangs would have a tough time, and be tough. I didn't always believe Anya Taylor-Joy as an action hero. I think I liked the little Furiosa better than the adolescent Furiosa.
Alayla Brown, I think is her name. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so good.
But still a deeply satisfying, maybe not masterpiece, but certainly excellent action pick.
Yeah. Yeah, such a great movie. I think that I actually personally, I think I like Furiosa better than Fury Road, and I think that's sacrilege to say, but I do because I think there's more heart in
Mm.
Furiosa to me. Like it feels more like there is a human there, and I think we get Furiosa later in Fury Road where she has like, hey, I can't be that anymore. Like I'm just, it's just a revenge flick that is masterfully made, but it's just the little bit of heart there for me made it more of a human story. And I just, yeah, I love Furiosa. That was such a good one. Good pick.
It is on my list too. I'm not gonna say where it is, but since we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and talk about it. So it'll come up later on my list. I actually also I like it better than Fury Road. Because I admire Fury Road. But I feel like Fury Road is like one tone the whole time.
Mhm.
And I've watched it a lot of times because I do still enjoy it. I watched it a lot of times, and I just find it kind of numbing after a while. Fury Road, and I love sagas, like reading Icelandic sagas and all those kind of old stories. And I love how the Mad Max franchise has always been about stories and storytelling and how we, because it's always been a series that set like someone telling you about the past,
Mhm.
you know, these legends of these characters or whatever. So, I like how he always worked in the idea of storytelling and like makes a big saga out of it. And it obeys the rules of sagas. And oh man, I adored it. I also
Mhm.
went on a big Mad Max kick this year, kicked off by my love of Furiosa, and watched watched all the older films, watched all the special features, everything I can get my hands on, and was just kind of agog at what George Miller and team create,
Nice.
and how much of it is, you know, practical stunt work and all the things they build, and just incredible, you know, and there's like nothing else like it. In movie history or anywhere, and I
Yeah.
just adored it, yeah. I also thought it was a very, compelling, interesting idea of a revenge narrative, and
Mm.
and, like, the end of it, I think the end is, like, beautifully vague, about how Dementis feels about his situation at the end, and what that suggests about the kind of revenge, redemption thing happened there.
Mm.
And you know, the best old sagas are like that too. They leave you a little unsettled, and I love that Miller left us unsettled. I hope we get the Wasteland, the other film he wants to make in this like late trilogy. We'll see. But I'm not gonna tell you what number it is on my list, but it will come on.
Nice.
Fine, fine. Joshua, what's your number 8?
My number eight's We Live in Time. Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh, relationship drama. I love the editing in this movie. It feels like, you know, as Andrew Garfield's telling the story to his child is basically what I see in telling the story of their relationship and who they are. And it feels like this jazz improvisational type of storytelling where one memory leads to another memory, and it's not a linear storytelling. It is like we're jumping back and forth in time. And I like that. I like how they play with time. I like the relationship at the core, and I like that, you know, people realize that connection and family, and people are actually more important than our ambition and being producers in this world. But it's the people that we're with in the end that make life worth living. So I loved We Live in Time. Uh, it was fun. It was a good time at the theater for me.
Yeah, that's my number one movie that I just missed. Like I kept trying to go see it, and things kept happening, and it was just gone before I could get to it. Still intend to see that soon.
Ah, nice. All right, number 7. Elijah.
My next number 7 for me is Dune Part 2.
Nice.
There's a second part of the Dune.
I'm always just a step ahead of you. I keep rating mine. It's a little higher than yours.
Me
Josh.
too. Just a little higher. I got
Just a
that
little
a little
higher.
higher.
That was my 5. That was my 5. No, 4. I got it as 4. Number 4.
4?
Dune Part
Great.
2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked the first Dune. I did the first part of this film well enough. Like I thought it was really good world building. But this second movie, whoo, like it just Villeneuve just, once he had everything set up, just went with it. And I just found it just thrilling, like every moment. The book is an unwieldy thing, unwieldy weird thing. And they let the weirdness be weird and just told the story the way it is. I kind of similar to some of the Furiosa stuff. Like it's one of these like stories that we tell again and again and again in different forms. And it's a movie that's aware that we tell these stories and like has ideas, and it's ideas about like why do we tell these stories and how do they shape us, and in particular religious stories, how do they shape communities and how do they move us forward, and then but setting all that aside, it's just like spectacle of the highest degree.
Timothy Chalamet on a sandworm that will live in infamy, right?
Yeah.
It'll be on
Incredible.
highlight reels throughout cinema history,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah. As it should be.
As it
Oh,
should. be.
amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know how badly I needed it until I got it. Right?
Yes. It's fantastic. So good. Yeah. I lived in the Arab world for many years. And so even all the stuff that is actually taken from the desert, from Arab tribes, from the Islamic world, I really liked that aspect of it. For me, just personally, as it just reminded me of the place that I lived. It was shot in Jordan, where
Yeah.
I lived in Jordan. And so it just also, to me, it was a personal connection. But the movie itself, man, such a fun one. I love Denis Villeneuve. Like he is a filmmaker that I'll get excited about and watch anything that he does. Just the spectacle that he brings.
I also feel like it could have that Star Wars effect where it's like, why was the middle one the best?
Yeah.
And I also, I feel that way even about the two towers in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I feel like it's the best of the three.
Mhm.
And
for sure.
I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe it's because you start to see in it when it starts to make its turn, you start to see the full implications. So we're not quite at the Holy War, false Messiah moment, right? But you're seeing it, and I certainly feel like we'll call it geopolitically, the search for messiahs and the amount of false messiahs and autocrats stepping up, full of false promises and bravado. It's almost endless, and so it could be by the time the third one arrives that it's going to be so spot on as the ultimate commentary on like where we were the last decade, and so false, people following charlatans into battle, for empty victories. We'll see,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Craig, hey, if I have it right, you have Conclave here at number 7.
I do. Conclave number
Anything
7.
else you want to say about Conclave?
No, I'm gonna eat my bowl of cheesy stew that Elijah just served up. I'm gonna turn the fondue a little more.
Nice. Well, my number 7, we've already talked about it as well, is A Real Pain. And so, just this little relationship drama going back to find their roots back in Poland, to go seek out their grandmother's house where she lived, and go to Holocaust sites. I think, man, Kieran Culkin's performance is outstanding. It is something like he just commands your attention on screen every single moment that he's there. And he is an enigma as an actor. Like he's just going to show up, get his lines memorized in 5 minutes and just go. And he's like, who is this guy? But he knows how to command. He has something on screen, this charisma that you just can't look away.
That's a little of, I think, how it came together. Like he actually didn't want to go, and it was just like, no, you're going. And he was like, okay, I'll show up. So a little of that, like, where are we going and what we're doing? That was not acting, maybe. That was real. What are we doing? What's next?
Yeah. And I heard, Jesse Eisenberg was just telling him, just follow Kieran. Just follow him around. See what happens. All right, Elijah, number 6.
Number 6, for me, was a documentary called Fly, that Nat Geo put it out. But it was the filmmakers behind it are Christina Klesiau, I think is how you say her name, and then Shaw Schwartz. And it's on Disney Plus, so you can watch it there. But it's a documentary about base jumpers, and people like wear wingsuits and like fly through canyons and all that. And it starts out, and I felt like when it started out, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like not interesting, basic, like extreme sports documentaries. Not interesting in the sense that they don't really like investigate the drive of these people, and just kind of show you amazing footage of people flying through canyons in wingsuits, which is cool. And they definitely do that. You get to see like some of that helmet cam stuff that people do and whatnot. But it really, like, as it went on, it kind of became kind of a gentle Herzog film. The filmmakers are very interested in what drives these people, and kind of the death impulse, or how it hurts their family relationships or doesn't. It explores all that. They followed these base jumpers over 8 years of their life, and it's a very dangerous sport. So you don't know who's going to survive and who's not as the years go by. So it was really good. I love nature documentaries. I love like nature sports documentaries too. And I find that they tell the same story over and over and over again. The story of, in order to have a transcendent experience in nature, you must leave behind your friends and family. So you have to break relationship in order to have a good relationship with nature. And I don't know why we keep telling that story, but we do. And this tells that story, but it also shows how being involved in the natural world, or in sport, in this case, can also be a communal experience, and how it can contribute to stronger community and communal life. So, and also it's just amazing to watch these people fly games and stuff. I mean, just incredible.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The technology of the sport developed over the time that they were making the film. So like when they start out, you're seeing one kind of base jumping, and then by the end, they can do whole new things because of the kind of suits they can wear and stuff. So
cool. Great. That's Fly. You can see it on Disney Plus.
You can.
Nice. All right, Greg, you're number 6.
Number 6 for me, I think one of the biggest cinematic themes of the year had to do with the body and discomfort with our body, wanting to change our body, disfigurement, all that kind of stuff. It ranged from films like The Substance, which was pure provocation, just did not let up, just trying to, blast the audience out of the theater with rage. But I think completely lacked empathy, so did not work for me really at all. Emilia Perez, I was like also trying to be empathetic, but it's like made by a Frenchman about Mexican narco wars, and so like that, I don't think it captured Mexico City whatsoever. So I felt like that was a miss. I haven't seen A Different Man, although I've heard that one's very interesting and empathetic. The one that got inside my skin the most was I Saw the TV Glow. That's my number 6. Director Jane Schoenbrunn. For the director, I believe it's about what it feels like to need to pursue a trans life, to change, and what happens if you don't. So it's the odds of resisting a calling, and the regret that may come from that, the feeling of being trapped. And the film feels very internal, feels very trapping. I also love just how much it trafficked in, I would call it like 90s pop culture. So it's a tribute to Buffy the Vampire Slayer through an imaginary film, TV show and I Saw the TV Glow called The Pink Opaque. And in The Pink Opaque, you have teenagers battling Mr. Melancholy. And I think that's what all teens do. All teens are battling Mr. Melancholy all the time. And so you have divergent paths in the film. I just think it will, over time, be viewed as a real classic of the genre. Kind of a update, what John Hughes might make if he was still making films 30 or 40 years later. Really gets inside the teen experience and that dysphoria that many kids feel.
Nice. Good. I Saw the TV Glow. Uh, yeah, my number 6 is, I think, maybe the most fun I had at the theater this year. And that was this big bombastic musical Wicked. Um, I really enjoyed Wicked. I had an affinity for the stage musical. My sister's friends worked on Wicked on Broadway, and so I got to go backstage, take a tour, be on stage, Wicked, then see the show. I love that. But Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande's performances both were spectacular, fantastic. I love John Chu's direction, and I love the choreography. The whole scene in the library, when people are dancing around, the library is spinning, and it's all shot practically. It's there. You could see people move. It's just like one of those old school musicals where you actually appreciate people dance. Like, you could actually see it. It's not, we're going to cut here and here, and you can't appreciate the dance, which has been happening a lot in musicals lately. So I loved Wicked, had a lot of fun with it. I think the palette was a little muted for my liking, but the actual film itself and the performances, the choreography, the dancing, all of that was a lot of fun for me. So Wicked is my number 6.
It's also a film about skin, right? And being judged, and getting comfortable in your own skin. Similar themes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like Wicked at all, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad so many other people did. I agree with you
You
that the
didn't like
library
it at
scene
all.
was the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah.
For I think clear reasons. It was one of the only dance scenes where I felt a real sense of place, and I knew where people were, and what they were doing and how they interact with one another. Yeah, I loved that scene. I really loved that scene, and I agree with you. I think the actors are great. The songs, of course, are as catchy as anything. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad I got to put Wicked on there but you, Elijah, what is number 5 for you?
Well, number 5 is the most fun I had in a theater this year. Which, maybe y'all hate it. Who knows? We'll find out. But it was Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
You want to help me?
Yeah, and while I want to learn.
And you think 1 year of medical school entitles you to plow through the riches of my Emersonian mind?
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
You have no idea about me. You think I am nothing? Just a socialite?
No, not nothing, but I reserve my time for people who can think about science and literature and architecture and art. You find me cruel, selfish, and unfeeling? I am. I work without caring what happens to either of us. So go back to the club, bear it all, and stock the kind of people that you enjoy.
Fine. I will.
It was the most fun I had
choice
here this year. Yeah, this movie was fun for me because I never had any clue moment to moment what was going to happen next. Throughout the whole movie.
It worked
I
out.
know.
Perfect.
It was like, and it was. I mean, I laughed and just had so much fun the entire time because of that. It was like entering into a dreamscape where in dreams you don't know what's going to happen next. Random stuff happens all the time. But I still felt like, even though it was everywhere, it was all of a piece. Like, it did kind of all fit together. It felt emotionally consistent throughout, and like it was aimed at something very particular. This is the mind at work thing, right? Where there is definitely a vision here. It may not be a vision anyone else would ever have, and it may be so personal that it's hard to get into, but it's definitely there. And I just love to see that. It is also something I feel like we've had this with a lot of our older filmmakers lately, where they kind of make these big passion projects. often they're at a place in their, I guess, in their life and their career where they don't really care if everyone likes it so much. I mean, it seems that way, and not in a bad way. It's just where like this is the story I want to tell. This is how I want to tell it. So I feel like Furiosa is kind of the same thing. Like this is the way George Miller wanted to do this thing. He's going to do what he wants. Or Horizon, Kevin Costner's Western thing. Which is a movie I thought about putting on my list because I admire the scope of it and what he's trying to do there. But man, Megalopolis. It was also one where I was watching it and then loving it so much. And I thought, I can't recommend this to anybody. Like there's nobody in the world who I know who would like this as much as I do. And almost didn't even review it. And then I thought, if I can't review this movie, like what am I even doing? If I can't sit down and try to express why I love this and why I admire it, then what am I doing? So it's also a review challenge to me, and I like a good review challenge.
So Elijah, I'm old enough that I saw Apocalypse Now in theaters in 79, and it was very divisive. A lot of people were like, no, this is too much. What is that whole last hour? Well, actually, what's the first hour? What's the last hour? Why is there a great movie in the middle that, is hiding, trying to get out? And of course, only over time, when people have allowed themselves to be immersed in it and for it to do what it wants to do rather than what we want it to do, have people said, well, that movie's a classic. That's a masterpiece. That's one of the 10 best films of the 70s and maybe one of the 10 best of all time. And so I sort of feel like this will be a similar situation where it's like, give it 10 to 20 years when people will then kind of go, what was that?
Oh,
I didn't understand it at the time. Maybe I understand it now. Maybe I'm not supposed to, It's a big play, big bets.
It is. I think you're right. And it reminded me most of Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, in the sense that like it's so different than what we expect to see at the movies. It's also a big Roman epic, which Star Wars Episode 1 is as well, like kind of a Roman epic. But it's like so different than what we expect to see that I think it's a lot of time for us to like get comfortable enough with it. And even the very very fake CGI thing going through the movie, I think it's like
there's your Jar Jar. That's your Jar Jar elements, right?
The whole movie's Jar Jar, right? But in time, like you can get past that, or not even get past it, but like really see it for what it is, which is kind of a it kind of distances you just enough that you see the artifice the entire time that you're watching it, which I think should prompt you to consider the ideas at play, to know you're being told a story, to enjoy it for that reason. Whatever. So, Megalopolis. I can't recommend it to anybody, but I think everybody should see it.
Nice. That was the one that I really wanted to see in theaters, but it just, the timing never worked out because it was in and out so quick. And I just didn't want to watch it at home. It was just one of those movies I wanted to see in on the big screen. So I actually am disappointed I didn't get to have that joyful experience laughing along with Megalopolis the whole time. Greg, you're number 5.
Number 5, I got to put a documentary on my top 10 list, and there were many, many good ones this year. I'm very dismayed how many documentaries you can't even really see. So there was a documentary called Union that, because it attacked Amazon and their practices with their workers in warehouses, there was no way any distributor was going to pick it up, because they're all so embedded in Amazon's ability to deliver movies that they're like, we can't attack Amazon. They'd be cutting off our own noses. And there's kind of the nature of the beast right there. There's another film called Sugarcane that's just going to come out maybe in another week or so on National Geographic, that gets into abuses at Catholic schools. Again, hard film to watch, not going to be popular. There's a beautiful documentary called Dahomey about the repatriation of artifacts, statues, royal carvings, all those things to the nation of Benin. So it's about colonialism and how France took things out. Very hard film to see, beautifully rendered. So all of that's to say, like, seek these out if you can find them. The one documentary I know you can see that will break your heart and put it back together in beautiful ways is called Daughters. It's available on Netflix.
Oh,
It won the audience award at Sundance, and it's about a daddy-daughter dance in a prison.
yeah.
I mean, that's just a recipe for just buckets of tears.
Yeah.
On multiple levels. And so I just want to give a shout out to Angela Patton, the co-director of the film, who's also the director of the nonprofit and that program that they've put together there. You know, we know we've got a prison industrial complex problem in America. We know that it's profitable for far too many people. And this is a film about the people paying a price over and over and over. So please check out Daughters on Netflix.
It is so good. It's so good. It was another one we saw it at Sundance. Craig, yeah, and it is every bit as heart wrenching as you expect it to be. It's also like clear eyed and challenging, too. Like it's not just like a sentimental like tugging your heartstrings things. It has really, I mean, they know what's going on and how hard this is for everyone. So it's really good, really good.
Excellent film. I saw it, loved it as well. Lots of tears. But it was such a good one. This one, my number 5 is a movie that is stuck in my body for the whole year, and it wouldn't let me go. And it's just risen on my list, and just because it was the experience that I had was just so immersive, and that's Alex Garland's Civil War.
I didn't take a single photo. I didn't even remember I had cameras on me. Like, oh my God. Like, why didn't I just tell him not to shoot them?
They're probably gonna kill them anyway.
How do you know?
He doesn't know, but that's besides the point. Once you start asking yourself those questions, you can't stop. So we don't ask. We record so other people ask. You want to be a journalist? That's the job.
Hey, Lee.
What?
Back off.
What am I saying that's wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong. She just shook up. Lee doesn't understand shook up.
Whoa. I'm not being protective of her? You're the idiot who let her in this car.
Story-wise, it wasn't my favorite story. The script wasn't, but it was visceral, immersive, like experiential. It was fear-inducing of how close we might be to a civil war. Just to be put into this place with war journalists trying to document what's been going on, and just, man, even the sound design probably is the thing that is stuck with me more than anything. Just the bullets and the things that, and my wife wanted to go with me. I saw it without her, and I came home. I was like, I'm so glad you didn't see this with me. It would be way too much for you. I also saw another movie about a war journalist this year, Lee. And I found, I really enjoyed Lee a lot. Kate Winslet does a fantastic job. And it was, for me, it was really interesting to see 2 movies about war journalists. One that takes like a first person perspective, like you're in it, you're immersed, it's experiential. And then one actually just is like a storytelling thing that they're looking back on the story. And I just didn't feel like the stakes were as high. And so I wasn't feeling it as much, but I loved Kate Winslet's performance and Lee as well. But Civil War is my number 5.
That's Lee that's a biopic, right? I didn't see it's about, and isn't in Civil War, Kirsten Dunst's character idolizes her, right? Isn't she mentioned like the real life? Yeah, I thought that was right.
Yeah. No, that's a good pairing, I think, Joshua. It's also interesting to me that you've got, of course, a Brit kind of doing a comment on us, right? Yeah. So it's the outsider who perhaps can see more clearly the precipice that we have remained perched on. And so, yeah, that's the kind of film, depending on how things go, could become more prescient with time.
I hope it's not.
Exactly. Too early to tell. Too early to tell.
I pray it's not. But yes. All right, Elijah, number 4.
My number 4 film, I don't know if it's a cheat or not, but it's a short film. But this filmmaker pretty much only makes short films. But it's Don Hertzfeld's Me. You know Don Hertzfeld. Don Hertzfeld is an animator. He's you've probably seen some of his stuff before. He usually has little stick figures as his characters. And he does like pretty much all the work himself on his films, all the animation, all the sound, all everything. And he distributes them independently from his own website and stuff. And he's been nominated for Oscars though. He has maybe his most famous film might be It's Such a Beautiful Day, which is just over an hour long. And then he has World of Tomorrow and then a couple of sequels to World of Tomorrow that are out there. But Me is his newest one, and the film had it started as was supposed to be animated kind of music video for an unnamed band's album, and then stuff happened that made that not happen. So we had basically a film made, but no music behind it. And so then they took and he found a musician to work with, and they built music, and he reworked the film that he made. But the film Don Hertzfeld's up was weird. It's like the little stick figures are little stick drawings, but then like the rest of the world around it becomes like cosmic and huge and all this stuff. Like he experiments all over the place. Me is about how do you explain it? It's about a father who gets obsessed with an idea of this thing he wants to make. He pours himself into that, neglecting his family in the process. And that invention kind of takes over the world. And there's also a thing about his child and how the child is a handful and is neglected. This all sounds very realistic, and there's nothing realistic about Me at all.
No.
It is experimental and fantasy and sci-fi. Like Fritz Lang's Metropolis would be a big touch point there. Two in a row movies for me that touch on Metropolis. The movie is only 22 minutes long. You can rent it on Don Hertzfeld's Vimeo. But it is quite an emotional experience. Don Hertzfeld can put as much emotion in 20 minutes than most people can put in like their entire lives. So it's incredible. Me by Don Hertzfeld.
It's self-distributed then? It's not streaming anywhere or anything like that?
Self-distributed. You can watch it on Vimeo. He has a Vimeo channel where you can rent it for like $5. And his own website is where he sells Blu-rays of his films. But it actually he's been touring with the film, kind of like a musician. Like he like sets up like screens around the country. Has been touring with it. So I think the most recent screens were in November, so maybe he's taking December off. But they've been showing it along with It's Such a Beautiful Day, his film from the early 2000s. That's just over an hour long. Fantastic.
Great. Way to go. Way to get me to a place, something that I need to go seek out, go find that I haven't heard of. So that is great. Thanks, Elijah. All right. You, is it true? Craig, Dune Part 2, number 4?
Yeah, Dune Part 2 was my number 4. So, so I'm going to defer right back to you, Joshua. What's on your list?
Well, my number 4 is Conclave. So we've talked about.
Oh, there we go. The crossover.
Conclave a lot already, and man, just such fun in theater. I want more movies like that. It's just like adult scripts, just people in a room, procedural. Like it's just fun. I love Conclave, everything about it. It was fun for me. So yeah. So then that brings us to number 3.
Number 3 for me. We'll swing right back around. So my number 3 film is Sean Baker's Anora.
Annie, I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian. Let's go.
No, I'm eating my food.
You're killing me. He's a spender. Come on, let's go.
Hello, this is the beautiful Annie.
Hi, I'm Annie.
I'm Ivan.
It was really weird. Like, I love him. No way. Yes way. Bruh. And I'm seeing him again tonight.
Will you marry me?
Seriously?
Seriously.
3 carrots.
What about 4?
Sean Baker's Anora. I think like a lot of people, I first became aware of Sean Baker with Tangerine, which and then have watched his films that he's released since then. Anora won Palme d'Or. I love that he's getting attention. He's been making movies for a long time, but love he's getting attention now. But Anora, So Nora's my number 3. It almost wasn't on my list at all. Because I love what Sean Baker does so much. Like, I feel like he's doing like Italian neorealism, but for now, where he wants to show you people that society overlooks, or takes advantage of, people that we often maybe don't want to look away from if we encounter them. And he shows you the struggles of their lives, and kind of dares you to empathize with them. He shows you, like the Italian neorealist did, like both like their glory, but also like why they have problems in life too. These are not easy portraits of people in his movies, and Anora is not an easy person to love. She's definitely a person who wants love, but kind of doesn't believe that she'll ever find it. And the tension in the film is between like, Mikey Madsen plays Anora, and she plays her like kind of so like held back and reserved, protected from the world, that you often like you want to know more of her and like what she's feeling and she's very vocal, but like she's protected the entire time. So you want to know more about her, but you also fear for her heart. And so you also don't want her to reveal herself, like in the context of the story at the same time, because she's gonna get hurt when she does. And so it's that tension between, and I find that to be a very like challenging moral filmmaking, because it asks a lot of the audience, and around all that, it's also kind of like a slapstick comedy. It's kind of like a One Crazy Night movie. It's got like sweeping romance, and just it's a lot of things. And it also just like left me like emotionally devastated at the end as well.
Yeah.
Where I just broke down finally, like when the tension of the film finally released, I just like broke down sobbing, and sobbing in like, I guess it was like happiness for her, sort of, but also like a very mixed happiness for her, where I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be happy for her or not. And I know she felt something. I definitely felt something. Like, I don't know. What a movie. And Sean Baker is just, again, just doing the most exciting filmmaking, I think.
I think you've given a great argument for why it's number 1 on my list. Nice. I think Anora is the best film of the year, because very few things can do screwball comedy for an hour and then turn it into this incredible pathos and social commentary. And then at the end, to me, it had one of the more healing, almost biblical discussions of like what is her name, and who and how is she seen, and what kind of love does she need, and it's it's hard to recommend this film because it's very R-rated, right? It begins in strip clubs and involves Russian mafiosos, so there's nothing wholesome about the entertainment, and yet to me it was the closest, I think, to how you might feel Jesus would have interacted with some of the prostitutes of his day, and who had certain expectations and certain ways of relating and certain ways of getting what they wanted. And how does he diffuse that and reframe that and rename that? I feel like Anora did the best job of rehumanizing someone who we could easily dismiss, and turn into either a joke or a victim or someone who got what she deserved. And instead it did something completely different. Which is showing her as loved and cared for despite it all. Very rare. Very rare.
I've been like, so every time I've talked to anyone about the movie, I've like not talked about her name and the part of the movie about her name, because I found that it's like going on throughout the movie. People will call her Anora, and she says her name is Ani, and you find out why towards the end of the movie, and it's almost like the only real character reveal that you get about her, and it's so weighty. It's amazing.
I think that's what elevated it to this biblical level for me.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's, Simon and Peter, Saul and Paul. I just sort of have this feeling that we've watched that kind of crisis point in a person's life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's also, I like what you said about Jesus, because I kind of feel like one thing I felt walking out of Anora is like, if Jesus was a filmmaker, he'd probably make the kind of movie Sean Baker makes. Movies that are very aware of the cultural context that we're in, really want us to see people that are pushed down or that we don't want to look at, and challenge us to love them the way that Sean Baker does.
Wow.
It's deep empathy.
Yeah. And hard to watch.
Hard to watch.
Yeah.
Man. And I can't say anything else. You guys, you did it. Craig, what's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going back to another prison story, and that is Sing Sing.
Nice.
It deals with a real life program, Rehabilitation Through the Arts, RTA, that takes place in the New York prison system, and stars real incarcerated folks who've been through that program. People like Clarence Macklin, who I hope is nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And really, it's about the power of art and plays and theater and acting to imagine a different future for ourselves, for us to get outside of our situation and maybe write a different ending. I think Coleman Domingo's performance was my favorite of the year. Again, such deep empathy. At the core of this film is the word beloved, and you see that lived out.
We here to become human again and enjoy the things that is not in our reality.
I think you guys are becoming real with each other, and vulnerable.
Listen, I already know what you're doing, know who you are, what you about, bro.
What?
You don't get to tell me what I need in prison. You don't get to do that. And don't bring me in those dark corners no more.
The world expects brothers like you and I to walk in with our heads held down. Nah, what you gotta walk in like a king. Everything is yours.
I'm divine now.
Yeah.
This is my theater.
Now give him some love, give him some love.
Go to your most perfect spot. Do you hear anything? Are you with somebody? Are you outside? Hold that feeling.
You gotta admit that I murdered that Hamlet to me, bro. Shakespeare is in his grave right now. He rolled over.
You did your thing, beloved.
I also admire the filmmakers, Greg Quidar, who was part of a film called Jockey, also a deeply empathetic film. He and the producers decided to make everyone equal partners in this film. So everybody's paid the same. Everybody has an equity stake in it. So again, they're practicing that communal work that you're seeing on screen, that beloved community that they're trying to form on screen. They're also doing that off screen.
Yeah.
So rare. And of course you don't want review a film based on what's off screen, but the integrity that I think is at the heart of the production comes through in each frame, and it feels earned rather than manipulative. The tears are just so deeply felt and come from such a deep hurt that it also gets you to a place of deep healing. So I can't recommend and love Sing Sing, I don't think, any more than I do.
Yeah. Well, I love Sing Sing. It's my number 2. And man, those performances, Clarence Macklin is a revelation. Just to see him actually almost reenact what he went through in the prison himself, in that program, to actually then go and see the healing power of art and being this beloved community, the community together, to as they're making things together, they could actually see themselves in a totally different light, that they are human again. And, I don't think that our prison system does much other than that program right there to let people know that they are human in the midst of we treat a lot of prisoners like caged animals. So to actually have a program like that, to be able to open people up, to open their hearts up, to say, hey, I am actually somebody that is beloved, made in the image of God, that could actually reignite my humanity. That is why the recidivism is really low. They don't actually come back into prison. It's one of the best programs out there that we have in the United States. I love Sing Sing. Highly recommend. Fantastic.
I just saw that the original song that was written for the film, Like a Bird by Alexander Abraham, was just on the Oscar shortlist, at least of one of the 15 best songs of the year.
Nice.
As well. And so if you've never listened to Abraham Alexander's songs, I really recommend his whole his debut album. He's got, I think, Nigerian, Greek, and now like Texas roots that he's kind of merged together in real beautiful ways. So
cool. Yeah. Well, my number 3 is Dune Part 2. We have talked a lot about Dune and how amazing it is. So we'll just jump into your number 2, Elijah.
This is look at this alignment. We got a lot of overlap here.
Yeah. A lot of overlap.
It's very interesting.
Well, my number 2 is Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. So I didn't say what number that was going to fall. So when I talked about it here, but yeah, that's my number 2. And really hard for me not to make it my number 1. This is also true of Anora. I also thought about making that my number 1 too. So, get up at the top. It's kind of all. Or John Hertzfeld's Me. That could have been my number 1 as well.
Yeah.
Okay, something's mixed in there. But my number 2 is Furiosa, which we've said enough about.
Excellent. Good. All right, Craig.
So my number 2, it's interesting, Elijah, you were talking about neorealism and how much you appreciated that. My number 2 is what I would call the most Fellini-esque film of the year. And that's La Chimera, or you might look at it and go, is that La Chimera? No, I think it's La Chimera. It's rooted in Greco-Roman mythology. It's an Italian fable by a director named Alice Rohrwacher. So that's a German sounding name for an Italian director. So there's a lot of European history at the root of this film. And it does such a great job of literally excavating history and thinking about the underworld that we all need to perhaps explore as we deal with grief and loss and longing. So it has roots in Orpheus and Eurydice, with Josh O'Connor, the British actor in the Orpheus role, mourning for love lost. And he has a very strange gift of being able to find buried treasures, buried Greco-Roman Italian treasures. And so it's a lot about how you deal with the past. He has a merry band of misfits, almost like clowns, who accompany him in the grave robbing. And you won't even know really what's going on for the first 45 minutes. It's not even clear, like, what's the plot. It's one of those kinds of films. But once you get on its very, very off-kilter vibe, it just takes over and does something magical, I think, in transporting you across time and space, and brings those ancient myths to life in a new way. You can find it on Hulu, although it's hiding. Like, you have to look it up. Like, they're not going to show you, like, this is something that we own. So you have to, like, look up and spell it, LA, _ CHI, you'll find it that way. But
I've not even heard of this. This sounds amazing.
Well, her films are really these magical fables.
Corpus Celeste and Happy as Lazaro.
Yeah, she did Happy as Lazaro, which I think had some lovely biblical kind of affirmations of the fool. So she's just working in, I think, that long European tradition, myths and legends and Bible and primal things, and excavating them in new ways.
Yeah, so I've heard incredible things about it. I'm looking forward to going on Hulu and checking it out.
What a weird world where someone who's made movies like the movies she's made could have a movie come out and I don't even hear about it. And it's just sitting there. Like this is a weird movie world we live in.
It's I think that's the greatest challenge of our time. There's plenty of great independent films being made. You can't figure out where to find them, where they're playing. There's another film called Ghostlight that I think echoes Sing Sing quite well. It's about the power of theater and all of that. And it's like, where do you find it? Really tricky.
Yeah. All right, Elijah, we're down to your number one of the year.
Well, we can continue the Josh O'Connor love for my number one, because my number one film of the year is Challengers.
All right,
which Josh O'Connor somehow steals from his, in my opinion, from his two very capable co-stars. But they're all real great in the movie. So Challengers, the tennis threesome movie from Luca Guadagnino, which
that was a challenge for me.
Which was
I'm with you. You can have it.
Advertised as this like sexy threesome movie or whatever, and there's like very little sex in the movie, but there's tons of tennis. And it's tennis as an aesthetic experience, not so much even a sporting experience. But I was just completely carried away by this thing. I felt like it felt like a Hitchcock movie as much as anything else. Hitchcock movie with no murders. And that score just, I think it's still playing in my ears somewhere. This is so overwhelming. But it, like I said at the beginning, like I look for a mind at work, and I definitely saw a complete vision there with Challengers, like in every moment. And with, like I said, just carried away by it. And then the more I thought about it afterwards, the more I just loved or enjoyed what it was after. Because these are people these three people live in a world where money is everything. They don't even call it money. It's so everything to their life. They call it access to capital. And they are, because they've completely given themselves over to this world, they have like cut themselves off from love. And they like seek out these kind of extreme experiences because they feel the void in themselves. And I thought it did. You can take like 1 Corinthians 13, passion on love, and like flip everything over and make it about money. And you have the opposite of all those good things that love is. And money breeds all these other things in their lives. And the Zendaya's character's machinations to get these two guys together, like, is really about wanting to open up the possibility of love in their lives, just in the world, because they just exist in a world that has none of it. I complete vision, fully carried out all the way through. Even with movies like Conclave and Anora and Mad Max Fury Road, which have these just ostentatious endings that just like kind of leave me on a high as I leave. This one, I was the most like ending of anything I saw. I loved it. I also really love ambitious movies, as you can tell from my list. Movies where filmmakers really reach for something. I felt this is one of those where Guadagnino was like, I'm just going to do this all the way, and hopefully people like it, and I'm going to do it all the way. So
I guess I'm those other people, I think for me, maybe it's because when you have something this stylish, right? And that surface, I think that's where I get worried, right? Like I know so many young people who are like, Wolf of Wall Street, yes, I want to be Leonardo, right? And I'm like, I'm not sure that's what that movie was saying.
Yeah.
And I sort of like, this is going to be the same thing. Like, you've basically spawned an entire generation who now wants to play tennis and look really good on the court. And it's just like, they miss the whole point is that no, these folks have zero. They got nothing, right?
They have nothing. Yeah.
They missed that. So it's hard with the stylish cautionary tale to feel like it's actually landing in people's hearts and minds because the style is so beautiful. These are three gorgeous people,
They are.
and with lovely Euro trash music, throughout. So,
It's like it's like Verhoeven, right? Like Verhoeven's satirical films, where
Another person that I hate. Yeah, I can't stand his film.
you just like I
I
admire
can't stand him.
satirical filmmakers who will just go all in on it and like almost trust the audience to understand that they're not supposed to like these people or want to be this.
Did you see
Yeah.
The Substance? Did you see The Substance?
I don't like body horror, so there was no way I was going to listen
Well,
to
you won't like
Substance.
that one then either. But I'm just saying it's all substance, right? It's all surface. But it's completely hollow underneath it. And I guess that's my fear in some of these things is that the depiction of hollowness done in a beautiful aesthetic style can leave the audience going, yes, let's be hollow together. It looks amazing. Look at my brands. Look at my
I don't know.
endorsements. You know?
It looked amazing. Like the aesthetic was amazing. The filmmaking was great. The tennis scenes, I loved the way that those were shot. Were great. The score was amazing. I just did not enjoy being with these characters, and so for me, I know that's what they were trying to do, and I didn't like it. And it was just because I just didn't want to spend time with these people. Like I appreciated the filmmaking. I appreciated the acting, just everything that was on screen. I just did not want to spend time with these people.
And see, I admire filmmakers who will give you that, right?
Yeah.
Who will who will so completely render the surface. And so totally give you the hollow characters and all that kind of stuff. And almost it's because it's like satire. It's like almost a dare. And if it was just that without I think very clear thematic intent of being like, this is the world you get if all you pursue is money and fame and this stuff. This is who you end up being. If it didn't have that underneath it, if it was just surface, I wouldn't like it. But I just feel like it has that core that you're hopefully see. And maybe I also like the idea that well, then that's my job to tell people that that's what it's about. So that they won't be swayed by the Wolf of Wall Street and will realize you're not supposed to want to be that guy, you know?
Save us, Joshua. Take us out of this surface finale. Give us some depth.
Anything else you want to say about Anora? You're number one, Craig.
No, I think I've said it. I've said it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, my number one was just mentioned by you, Craig, and that is Ghostlight, which is a nice little companion piece to Sing Sing.
I think it's really great that you found a place where you feel
Welcome, Daisy.
I just don't want to screw that up for you.
You should have told me.
I know.
I won't judge.
The lines are the easy part. The hard part is the emotional journey.
What happens to them?
Here's a hint. It's a tragedy.
You're shaking.
It seemed like you might want a chance of being somebody else.
When things get hard, you either blow up or bail. It's a bad habit.
There you go.
What?
You're happy.
Okay, weirdo.
Many of us live our lives repressing our emotions because out there they can be a liability. But in here, we can put those into good use.
Good luck, honey.
You don't say good luck. It's break a leg.
Break a leg.
Maybe it was the going through and walking through the grief of the loss of my mother-in-law this year, and seeing the healing power of art, engaging in play, engaging in being in community once again when you feel like everything is broken and hollow and like there is nothing left in your family, in your soul, but then something then comes alive again. And when you're playing with other people, and that you could find a community once again, you could find love again when everything is broken. You're grieving and you think that life is hopeless. There's nothing left. I adored this movie, cried a lot in this film. There's a lot of tears shed. I just couldn't stop. It was like, I don't know if I've cried that hard in a movie in a long time. It was moving, it was powerful, and it seemed very, very natural, real world. Like there's no extra style needed. It was just like, let's enter in with these characters. I loved Ghostlight. Ghostlight's my number one.
Beautiful, beautiful. Can I reserve an asterisk for Nickel Boys, which I haven't seen?
Yes,
Oh, I
me
haven't seen
too.
that one yet either. Yeah.
It may pop up, into that list, but it's like, I don't know. It's just opening in LA, I think, this weekend. So,
Oh yeah. Well, my asterisk would be Nosferatu. I cannot wait to see Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I've wanted that movie to exist from before I knew he was making it. And feel like I live in the best possible timeline where the thing that I wanted so much it actually exists. So
Yeah.
it will probably be my number one movie of the year after I see it.
Yeah, Nosferatu, and see that. I'm looking forward to seeing Timothée Chalamet try to figure out how to play Bob Dylan. I know that it's going to be another biopic that's probably not going to be some sort of great little movie, but I've heard that the performance is fantastic, so I'm looking forward to that. And Nicholas
Manuel
Hoult is
doesn't make bad movies though.
no, he doesn't make bad
He doesn't
movies.
make bad
I don't
movies.
think it's going to be a bad movie. I just
Yeah.
think that it may not elevate to the top of my list, but I am really looking forward to that one. With Nosferatu, and Nicholas Hoult is having a day. I just saw him in The Order last week. Went to The Order, which is another fantastic film, just really well made. Jude Law, FBI agent, going after some white supremacists that are trying to cause a civil war in the United States. And, true story. Nicholas Hoult in Juror Number 2 as well. I love the moral quandary of that film, of what and just actually then trying to think like, what would I do in that situation with Juror Number 2, and then Nosferatu. So he's Nicholas Hoult, man. He's having a day. It's good. Any honorable mentions? Anything that didn't quite make your top 10?
There's two for me, and one is gonna feel a little bit like self promotion, though I don't feel that way about it. But I produced a film this year, but really one of my colleagues did all the work on it. I've mainly worked on how we're distributing it afterwards. So, my colleague Patrick Duff did most of the work, but it's a film we made about a professor at Fuller named Bill Pinnell. And the documentary is called The Gospel According to Bill Pinnell, and it's Bill is a Black evangelical. He recently died just about a month ago. He's a Black evangelical leader who was part of the civil rights movement, and his life and ministry was really like speaking to the white evangelical church and trying to get them to pay attention to things that they should have been paying attention to. And my friend Patrick, he put this documentary together using a tremendous amount of research that he did to do a lot of archival content of Bill talking about his life, and then put it in order. And so it's all in Bill's words the entire time.
Wow.
And just Bill telling his story about what happened, when, and why. And is the kind of model for it was Listen to Me, Marlon. Do you all see that documentary about Marlon Brando? That was all from his recordings. So that was kind of the idea, the kind of the formal idea behind it. And I think Patrick made just an amazing film that really gives you a essential window into evangelicalism over the past 60 years, and how things changed and why and all that. So love that movie. And then the other one kind of goes like a cheat too, because made by a friend, but Twisters. I love Twisters.
Yes, super fun. A lot of
that
fun.
was just like the perfect 90s throwback thing. He did that perfect. And love that movie. He's a friend, so I feel again like it feels weird to put friends' movies on your list, but
it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. Love Twisters.
Good friends. I've got a few that I just recommend that I think are fun. Thelma, I thought was super fun.
So much fun. Yeah.
93-year-old June Squibb on the revenge trail. Hitman, I thought had some great moments and ideas in it. Wildcat, very thorny depiction of the thorny character of Flannery O'Connor. DD is a fun coming of age film. Remarkable Life of Evelyn, a documentary that's on Netflix. It's quite touching. And then there's a couple that I haven't seen yet that I still want to see. Seed of the Sacred Fig.
Yeah, really looking forward to
Brutalist,
that one. Yeah, that one
Green
too.
Border, All We Imagine Is Light. It's very hard to do these year-end lists with films that haven't come out yet this year.
Exactly. Those are all four of those I really want to see. Looking forward to it. I think anything that you haven't mentioned yet, I think I actually really enjoyed My Old Ass. That was a great little movie, coming of age story, but really, for somebody, in their late 30s, 40s, about to go through a midlife crisis, to look back on your younger self and figure out, oh, what is it that's really worth living for in this life? So I actually really enjoyed My Old Ass. Inside Out 2 as well. I'm going to put it on there because it helped my son talk about his emotions, and it's his favorite film of the year. He really loved Inside Out 2 a lot, and so he and I were able to actually have those discussions now. And what are you feeling? And what are the emotions on the inside saying? And so I liked Inside Out 2 as well.
Beautiful. That's fun.
Yeah. That's fun. Guys, thank you. This was fantastic. Where would you like to point people to? You working on anything, or you have anything out that you'd love to let people know about? Elijah?
You can people go to my website, just elijahdavidson.com, and you can find stuff there. So, always working on something. I'm reading a lot these days. I'm like gearing up for a new writing project, and I'm reading a ton, and that's been a lot of fun. I've been rereading. I made a list of all the books that have been most influential to me or impactful to me over the course of my life. And I've been rereading through all those books, like in chronological order, which has been fun to reread the books. And it's also been like visiting my past self, my younger self, and like where I was when I read those books the first time and all. So that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, go to my website for the stuff that I do. Easy.
Awesome.
And thank you, Joshua, for the chance to talk earlier this year about honest creativity.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying talking about it, speaking about it. Anything that's dealing with the reality and the threat of AI for creatives, I think is important to me. It's not going to go away as an issue. And so I'm encouraging people to go in for that long play of being honest about their struggles, their triumphs. I think that's what we saw in these films, right? A lot of hard, honest films that broke through a lot of special effects and a lot of visual clutter and spoke straight to the heart. So that's why I think honest creativity is a good long play for all creatives, pastors, teachers, etc., to double down on.
Yeah, great. Well, Elijah and Craig, thank you. This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun for me. So thank you for this conversation, going down our list. So here's to more great movies in 2025. So thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to see more episodes like this, go to patreon.com/shiftingculture and become a monthly patron of the show. You can help us produce more episodes so that we can see the body of Christ look more like Jesus. If you become a patron on patreon.com/shiftingculture, you will get early access to episodes. You will get episode guides. You will get bonus shows, hopefully, and more. So go to patreon.com/shiftingculture and become a monthly patron. Also, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out and helps us find new listeners to the show. And just go and share this podcast with your friends, your family, your network, people that you think would enjoy it as well. Thank you again for listening to the show. I hope you have a great week.